What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with the overall markets. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be very, very important as we have more data coming out, not to mention some news from President Trump that could cause some more volatility. And once again, why tomorrow is going to be very, very key for the markets as we're going to be looking for a big test on the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and many other tickers. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of the stock, or deposits $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia. You're also going to qualify for a 3.6% APY base rate plus a 4.5% APY extra for 3 months, making it a total of an 8.1% APY. The offer ends very soon, so please check out my link down below to sign up or use this QR code. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. So, looking at SPY, you could see that there's a slight divergence that's been forming on the SPY chart, and simultaneously, we're trying to bounce right now. Now, we talked about how there's going to likely be a bounce coming to SPY, the QQQ, Tesla, and the overall market in my video yesterday. That's exactly what's happening right now. Now, one thing though is that we have this yellow trend line acting as resistance, and SPY is currently trying to break past this. So as of right now, if we sustain this level, we are looking more bullish. Also, SPY is above 668.29, our 50 EMA. If we hold this, we will be expecting it to start retesting once again these highs over here. If we hold above 670, I'm looking for 675. Now, we need confirmation because there's lots of data coming out and some news updates from President Trump, which I'll talk about. But keep in mind, we are still favoring upside if we hold these levels. Same thing with the QQQ. If we could hold above 605.44 tomorrow for at least 4 hours, and if we sustain this uptrend above this trend line, acting as resistance. So this was our resistance where we rejected. Now we're trying to break this, so we could be looking for an attempt for 612 and 615 if we hold above 606. So we will see if we continue to break out or if we get a rejection. But as of right now, the charts do look more bullish on SPY, the QQQ, ES, the IWM, and NQ. So are we about to pump more? Do we get a rejection? It also depends on some data. That's why I'm being a little bit more ambiguous right now. And here's the exact reason why. Tomorrow we have big data coming out, and we also have some news updates I want to talk about first in a very unbiased fashion, and then I'll talk about the charts. So for the week, remember, it's a very short trading week. We had Monday just finished, right? It's the first full trading day of the week. And then we have only 2 more full trading days left. We just have Tuesday, which is a full trading day, then Wednesday, which is a full day, and then Thursday, the stock market is going to be closed for Thanksgiving. And for Friday, the stock market's only open for half a day. So only 2 full days of trading left for the week, and then we're going to see what happens. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. At 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the ADP employment change data. This could cause some volatility. We're expecting a decrease by 2.5 thousand, at least for employment. And then for the next piece of data at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so this is going to be 1 hour before the stock market opens, we have the PPI data coming out. And this is important because PPI does tend to follow or resemble CPI, and we are expecting a slight increase in the PPI numbers month over month. Retail sales are also expected to be kind of flat, and for core PPI, we're expecting a slight increase month over month. But the year-over-year data is expected to be about the same, and I think that's also just as important for the Fed. Despite a slight increase month over month for PPI, we're expecting the year-over-year data to be okay. And keep in mind, this is delayed data. This is not data for October. This is data for back for the month of September, because the data was not coming out during the government shutdown time. Now that the government has reopened, right, the data is slowly coming out. So this is very old data that's coming out. It still could cause some high volatility, though, just like what we saw last week with some September jobs numbers, right? It sometimes still causes volatility in the present. Now, besides that, tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's 30 minutes after the stock market opens, we have consumer confidence. Then we have some data coming out from the Richmond Fed alongside some bill auctions. So there may be some more volatility around 10 o'clock a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's it for now. But the main thing to watch for, I would argue, would be around 8:30 a.m. So look for some volatility tomorrow with this data coming out. Hopefully, the market continues to push even with the data coming out. We will see just to be safe. From a technical standpoint, we look more bullish, favoring more upside, but we'll see just to be safe. Now, there's more news updates from President Trump. President Trump said that he's weighing in on whether to allow Nvda to sell advanced AI chips to China, according to the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He said this in an interview with Bloomberg News today. He also talked about how the president is consulting lots of different advisors and deciding the potential exports and how they're going to be going about things, especially for NVIDIA's new chips. Then President Trump said on his Truth Social page that he has had a phone call with President Xi Jinping of China, and he said the phone call was very good. Here's a quote from him. He said that he had a very, very good telephone call with President Xi of China. We discussed many topics, and then he also said that they basically have done a good and very important deal for their great farmers, and they're going to continue to do this. He also mentioned that their relationship with China is extremely strong. And once again, this call was a follow up to their highly successful meeting in South Korea. So President Trump was talking about that, and because there were negotiations involving NVIDIA, I think NVIDIA pumped a little bit only to slow down as the day went on. So this has been more optimistic for the markets. I think this is parts of why the market was pumping alongside this news right here. So we had some more news that came out from the Trump administration that they're going to be shedding 317,000 employees this year. Its human resources chief said. That's what we heard from Scott, right? And he was basically telling us about how this is a big change compared to what we saw previously. So once again, they're going to have to let go of a lot of employees. And then when hearing that news, we had a Federal Reserve Bank president speaking. We had a Waller from the Fed who was saying that he supports a cut and that he is more concerned with the US labor market than with inflation. And he also claims that the most private sector data shows that the jobs market is soft and is continuing to weaken, which he's correct about. And he also said that he doesn't think that inflation is a big problem going forward. It's going to start pulling back. That's what his data suggests. So that's huge news. Waller from the Fed is saying he supports a cut in December. Then we had Mary Daly from the Bank of San Francisco. She's the Bank of San Francisco president for the Federal Reserve. She's also calling for a December interest rate cut on the view that a steeper slowdown in the labor market is both more likely and harder to manage than an inflationary breakout. And she also is not as worried about inflation. She's more concerned about the labor market. So why is this important? A bunch of Fed speakers are now suddenly saying that they support a cut in December. They think we're going to get a cut in December because of the labor market numbers. As a result, the bonds market is now pricing in a cut for December. There's now an 81% chance we get a cut in December. The market's becoming more confident in this, and it's once again becoming more optimistic. So that's why the market's bouncing, because once again, you have President Trump being very optimistic with his meeting and his call with President Xi Jinping of China. Then you also have a lot of optimism from the Fed about another cut coming in December. Now there's a great probability it's going to be happening. For earnings, there wasn't really much today that's significant. Tomorrow, we do have some significant Chinese ones, such as Alibaba and Neo, and then a couple of retail ones, such as Kohl's, Best Buy, and Dell. But that's pretty much it. There's not really much for earnings. So, what do I think is going to happen to the market moving forward? As of right now, okay, I can't make promises since we're waiting for some data, such as the employment numbers for tomorrow morning alongside PPI. But I do want to say that the chart does favor upside a bit more. It's more likely we try to go higher if this continues because SPY has a nice divergence. We're making higher lows and we're trying to hold above our EMAs. So look for confirmation. Just in case we get bad data tomorrow, if the market dumps with PPI, just hypothetically, we want to see us lose 664. If 664 fails on SPY, I think that the low of the day could be retested around 659, and then we could continue to retest the 650s if we lose 664. All right, but if we're bullish, if you want to be bullish, I want to see us hold 670. If 670 breaks and we hold above 670 for 4 hours, I think we could easily go for 675 next on SPY. This resistance between 675 and 676 will be tested, and we'll see if you reject or if you break past this, so watch it very, very closely. But the odds do favor more upside looking at the current technicals, although the current technicals are not going to be as accurate as usual because it depends on this data. We still favor upside as a higher probability. For the QQQ, the same thing is going on. Now, if you're bearish, if you think we're going to get a dump with PPI and our jobs numbers, you want to see us reject and basically lose near 600. That's where the 20 EMA is. Lose the 600 zone. Specifically, right now it's at 599.44, but I think that the 20 EMA is kind of like curling up, so it's going to be closer to 600 tomorrow. If that fails us, I think we could retest 594, and then we may continue to dump if that fails us. We could get a rejection here if we're bearish. If we're bullish and we get good data tomorrow, of course, you want to see us basically hold above 605. If that holds, I'm looking for an attempt for 612 and then 615. The current technicals do look more bullish because right now the QQQ is above 605.43. So we want to go up to 612. But of course, let's wait and see what the data gives us. I want to be very unbiased about that. That's the best way to go about your day trades. Don't solely trade based off what you think will happen in predictions. A good move to make for retail who tend to have limited data compared to like Wall Street, right? Your best move is just to be very patient, be unbiased with the way in which you go about things, and watch and see if we get the rejection. Right now, we look like we want to go higher. We got a very, very nice breakout on the QQQ up 2.56%. We're favoring upside, but we'll see just to be safe if we truly continue to pump. All right, so I hope that makes sense. We're favor upside, but we'll see depending on the data. We do look more bullish, technically speaking. The IWM looks more bullish, nice looking double bottom. I called out 240 yesterday. Now, if we're bearish, you want to see us lose around 236. This is going to be this support over here, and it's also going to be where our 20 EMAs. If that fails us, we return to 233 and 230. But right now, we look more bullish. We're going to be favoring 242.5 or above for some temporary upside. I think the odds favor the upwards direction on the IWM. So we look more bullish in my view. For ES, we're forming kind of like a megaphone pattern. We're technically on a downtrend. However, we look a little bit more bullish. I think we go a little bit higher, and we're going to be favoring this test right here. This is going to be our 200 EMA at 67.50, and that also aligns with this trend line. And then we're going to see, do we break this with all the data coming out? Do we break this and go for 67.85 back up to where this imbalance is? Or do we reject with the data and come back to 66.70? If that fails us, I do expect this to turn right back down. It could go either way, but for now, ES does favor upside temporarily, favoring 67.50 and 67.80 as our targets, and we're going to see if we reject or not, but so far we do favor more upside for now. On NQ, we look a bit more bullish, same exact setup as ES. We basically are going to be favoring 25,000 as our resistance, then 25,128, followed by this imbalance fill around 25,300. Those are going to be your three resistances. There is some tough resistance on NQ, but we're favoring a bit more upside. And then we're going to see if we reject back down. If we lose 24,650, we'll turn back down. But as of right now, we're favoring that we want to go up higher, and we're favoring the 25,000s in my opinion. Bitcoin looks more decent. We have 86,900 as our main support. If that fails us, we dump. But if we break 89,000, we're looking for a break past the 90,000 mark. Look for some consolidation here, and I think Bitcoin may attempt to go higher, but we need confirmation. We need to break past 89,000 to continue, so we'll see how it goes. On Tesla, we are looking decent on Tesla, but I'm kind of like in the middle with this, because here's the thing. Despite the fact that Tesla's trying to break out of this downtrend, so see how we kept rejecting off this yellow line. We're trying to break out. There is one problem. There's one problem for Tesla. Right here, look at this very, very simple trend. We're in a consolidation. As we hit 425, Tesla has rejected. We actually got one rejection past it, 2 rejections, 3 rejections. Will this be a rejection near 425? Or do we break it this time and we truly break out to try to make new highs? If we could break and hold 425, I think we could continue for the 430s on Tesla stock. If it's a trap and we end up failing, if Tesla cannot hold above 420, look for 407. If that fails us, there's a gap to fill, taking us back down towards 393. I'm in the middle. We're at resistance. I need to see if we get a rejection or not. If we lose 415.85, we're looking for a jump to 407 or below. But if we don't, we could be going higher. So watch to see if we consolidate and reject or not. So be very, very careful. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. I am unbiased with Tesla because of the data that's coming out for tomorrow. Nvidia is not looking that great. It bounced a bit only to get a rejection. It could be because, we were hoping for some big updates from President Trump involving his call with Xi Jinping. We didn't really get much about Nvidia. He did mention, and we did hear from, our Treasury Secretary that basically we are seeing negotiations going on, but there's no confirmation of Nvidia being able to sell certain products with less restrictions, at least to China. So we're on a downtrend still, and there's no sign of a big bounce yet. We need to hold above 184 to be bullish. As of right now, we touched like 176, bounce, come back down. We're kind of like consolidating. We're going to see if we bounce or if we break down. We're still in this consolidation on Nvidia, not really doing much. Apple looks a little bit more bullish. However, there's one problem. Again, just like Tesla, very similar setup to Tesla, at least for the last couple of days. We're pushing, but then we're also approaching a resistance near 277 to 278. If we break 278, we're going to be turning back up, but if we reject, we could be turning back down to 271. So watch this very closely as we hit resistance. If we don't break 277, we could be turning back down towards 275. So watch and see if we get a rejection or not as we're just going back and forth. We could reject and turn back down here, so we'll have to see how it ends up going. But overall, we're just in a consolidation like this, so we could be turning back down to the lower 270s. On the problem is we don't truly know what Apple's about to do. It might reject. I'm a little concerned about that because there is some tough resistance. So be careful with this. For Neo, for those who are interested, it's trying to push, but we have earnings tomorrow. So we're going to see if this breaks out for $6. Might try to go higher. We'll see just for confirmation. Netflix has resistance at 107.58 and also 109.75. We also have support down here at 105.37. We're going to see if we break resistance at 107.5. If it does, we could be going a little bit higher. So watch and see if you get a rejection or not. Otherwise, there is some upside potential. On MSTR, we basically have a double bottom here. We could be looking for an attempt for 184.5. We favor upside, at least technically speaking. We'll see if it continues with the data coming out. On Celsius, we bounced and got a rejection. I think we had some negative news. It is favoring 37.5 or below temporarily. Might see some downside. Supermicro is trying to push with Nvidia. It's actually holding up better. We need to break 33.66. If we do, I'm looking for an attempt for 35. It does have upside potential, but we need some confirmation first. Palantir has resistance at 163 and support down here at 156. It might come down a bit and retest essentially 158 as we're testing a tough resistance, and there's no sign of us breaking yet. Rivian has a nice triple bottom. It's actually favoring an attempt to get back up to 15.6 for some temporary upside if this breaks. SoFi has a nice bullish divergence. As long as we don't lose 26.5, we're actually going to be favoring a move back up towards 28.5 or above. AMD has a nice consolidation, but the thing is we're kind of stuck in the middle right now. I need to see us break 218 to continue to pump. Otherwise, we are rejecting a little bit. It's not looking as great. So if we don't hold above 218 in the next upcoming days, we could return back down to the low 200s. We're still not getting the breakout I'm looking for. ARM needs to break 135.8 to be bullish. If we don't, we're going to be favoring a move back down to 131. PayPal is in the middle. If we break 60.75, we're bullish. If we don't, we could turn back down towards 58. Coinbase looks more bullish. Now, if we lose 255, we could turn back down towards 244. But if we hold above 255, we're looking for an attempt for basically 264. On Amazon, if we end up losing essentially 222, we'll turn more bearish. But as long as you hold 225, we're going to be favoring 228.25 and 230 as our bullish targets. On Meta, as long as we don't end up losing 601, we're going to be favoring a pushback up towards this 617.5 area than 620. So we'll have to see what happens. Otherwise, we're going to be favoring some upside. On Google, we're looking a bit more bullish to me as long as we don't end up losing any like major supports. As long as like 318 holds, we're still favoring upside. Although there is some tough resistance at 325, we look bullish. And then Microsoft has a nice double bottom here. As long as we don't end up losing 470, we should consolidate and try to bounce back up towards 480. Oracle is forming like a double bottom. We're going to see if we bounce back up for 205. It has potential to bounce a little bit. The VIX is technically on a downtrend. Here's the thing about the VIX. Technically, it's dipping. It could dip more if we lose support. As of right now, we're at support right now. on the 4-hour time frame, it could bounce or reject here. It could go either way. We're going to see if it bounces off this support or not. It depends on the data coming out for tomorrow, but as of right now, it looks kind of weak. The 10-year is dipping as a result of the Fed being more dovish, and then we also have the dollar consolidating here. Is it about to reject as the market bounces more? Does this bounce? It could go either way. So SPY and the QQQ do look more bullish. They're favoring the upwards direction right now. SPY and the QQQ look like they want to go higher, at least for now, right? They look like they want to go higher, but I can't make promises yet. Even though we're getting lots of optimism from the Fed, it depends on this data and what kind of reaction we get from PPI and our employment numbers. So be ready for some high volatility. I'll give you guys an update tomorrow before market open about how this is looking and why we need to be very, very careful, at least at this potential point, right? We called this upside move. I did say yesterday I was expecting some upside in the markets, and that's what happened so far. But we can't call everything every single time. Sometimes we have to be really, really hands off and be very patient, because sometimes we're just waiting for some data, and that's how the market that's just how it is, right? It's just the uncommon truth that people have to like understand about the markets. But anyways, I'll let you guys know what I think is about to happen tomorrow once we get all the data and how the charts are looking. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best. Please take care of your guys' selves and get ready for another full trading day for tomorrow. Have a good rest of your guys' days. Enjoy your days, nights, or evenings wherever you guys are around the world, and peace out.